We are joined now by new University of Tulsa football coach Kevin Wilson, who, Kelly, 3 days ago was involved in an instant classic semifinal college football playoff game, one of the best postseason games I've ever seen, uh, which was crazy too, Coach, because I'm sure you've noticed or heard by now that game ended at exactly midnight Eastern time. So as soon as 2022 ended and 2023 began, you were able to, your life has kind of been played out on a split screen for a month here. TU on one side, Ohio State on the other. Now you're the 100% Tulsa Golden Hurricane head football coach. When you first became aware of the opening, was your interest immediate, or did you find out a little more about it and then get involved that way? How was that process at the very beginning?
Yeah, I kind of thought, Bill. I mean, yeah, you never anticipate. But sometimes the coach or going into the season, I just thought maybe going into the season that was a job that maybe could become available, and a job I thought maybe that I would have some interest in, and I also thought maybe I would fit the profile potentially of what they would be looking for there. So I was interested in the job, not wishing bad luck on any coaches or any teams. But before it happened, so it wasn't like it was like, oh, it happens, I'm interested. I was kind of interested before it happened. Never said that to anyone. Just me looking at how teams are playing, their records, where they're at, and coach had been there a certain period of time. Maybe it's time for transition, and wasn't wanting or wishing bad luck or ill will on anyone. So I was aware of the job before it became open. Thought it might be. When it was, I just I had a guy who was doing some behind the scenes agent work, just said, hey, I'd be interested in Tulsa if there's a mutual interest. And so he reached out, there was, and it kind of went from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, after 6 years at Ohio State, your record there was 67-9, by the way, crazy. But after 6 years at Ohio State, had you decided kind of, you know what, this offseason, I really want to make it, I really want to look at getting back to being a head coach again? Or was it just more circumstantial that this turned out to be the time?
A little circumstantial. I mean, there's been a couple of years where you've poked and looked to see, but again, every job is different. Bill, when it opens up, looking for an offensive guy, looking for a defensive guy, looking for a young guy, looking for an older guy. There's all kinds of scenarios, and I kind of felt realistically, what jobs would be attractive, where I thought it'd be a great place to live. You could have success and win, and it would be worth leaving Ohio State. It wasn't like I had to leave or needed to leave or really wanted to leave. In fact, it was kind of sad to leave. My son plays on the team here. Got 2 daughters that live in town now. I mean, shoot, they're more bummed out and mad. Although as a young coach, when I was at Oklahoma years ago and some of these first jobs started coming available, sometimes I didn't maybe pursue a job as hard because I wasn't sure where my kids were. If moving the kids, it was the right time to move. Now, my youngest kid, I have 5. My oldest is a lawyer here in Columbus, working for the district attorney downtown. My number 2 works for Ohio State, a little bit on the side in an apparel business. My youngest son's a freshman on the team, and they said, why don't you do what you want to do one time, which was kind of nice for my kids to say that. So, like I said, I wasn't pushing. I had to leave, wanted to leave. Matter of fact, kind of even when I was offered the job, I said, let me go talk to my wife now. Do we really want to do this? And, said some prayers about it to make sure. I've always said, since that good run we had at Oklahoma, I got to a point, if it wasn't about me and my career as much as was I at the place coaching the kids I was supposed to be coaching, impacting the lives you're supposed to impact, trying to build and be a part of a great program. And then also is a good place to raise your family or live. And now the family's kind of raised. So the raising the family wasn't as high on the totem pole as it was in years past.
I see.
Assembling your staff, is that your biggest priority at this stage? And do you anticipate those hires to be made pretty quickly?
Yeah, it's going through the bowl season. There was a little bit of gauging interest and trying to put it together. Myself being an offensive oriented person, wanted to maybe start with some defensive guys that felt good about new offensive guys, because there's basically a finite amount of funds that I have that can go to coaches, and I didn't want to get too many things lined up. I had a pecking order of who to get or how to get, and then try to piece it together. So little bit like a jigsaw puzzle. Sometimes people you like maybe don't fit. Maybe the budget doesn't allow you to chase things. Maybe the budget changes and you're going for more experienced or less experienced guys based on what you can offer, but you're trying to put together a good team. So that's there was a little bit of that. And the initial job flow has been, once I got there, was to save as many kids that want to stay and not go into the portal. And that's the day and age where guys want to do that. They didn't know me. I tried to earn some trust. We lost a couple. I think we saved a few. But we'll, the good Lord has those plans where guys are supposed to be. I think in this day and age of jumping around, we'll be careful. I also think the day and age of me finding portal players, be careful, buyer beware. You better make sure you're getting a good product and a good young man, a good family. From there, it was the next Tulsa thing was then the immediate recruiting of the first signing date. So I was trying to solidify those kids that didn't want to come, getting to know those guys. So it was the initial players, then the initial immediate recruits we're dealing with, trying to maybe find a couple, but there's time on the back end to piece together some. There's still some good players and guys that we can add here late if we're smart and do it the right way. After that, it was basically full throttle the bowl game. And I was, once we got past those two signing day periods and our players leaving, going home, everything was concentrated on the bowl game and then on the side dealing with coaches. I didn't want to do a lot of formal coach work until the bowl games were done. So I had some things I thought kind of set up as the bowl game. And unfortunately, I know Bill said it was a classic. It wasn't a classic because we lost. It was only a classic if we won the game. So it's not a classic game. It was two heck of a good teams playing hard, going back and forth, swinging blows. And we had a heck of a practice preparation period, getting up for that game and playing as well as we did. It was a well of a contest for sure, and that makes it a classic. But now that we're past that, we're going to start trying to finalize the coaches. We don't have to get everything in place. I can't really comment specifically on anyone until they pass background check and HR. So this day and age of the internet, the rumors that get out there flying, guys maybe are not coming, staying. I'm trying to communicate with the Tulsa coaches, our direction, the previous staff, what's going on. No one's was technically been, they were all still working until we got through this period. I told them I planned to go through the bowl game before we made final staff decisions, but we're in that point now. I think we're about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more. But I think the bulk of the staff will be maybe in place as we get through the end of this week, because our players will be on campus Sunday for a team meeting. School starts Monday. That's a dead recruiting period, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's a national coaches convention. Our coaches will be in Tulsa trying to connect with now the current team and get the coaches with the current team. And then from there, we go out into a recruiting cycle. So hope to have the coaches hired on board, probably about a week for a lot of things being final, maybe 2 or 3 weeks for everything's in place.
So if you guys are having a team meeting Sunday, then you probably know who's on the team. Like, are there any guys who are maybe undecided, or any of those super seniors trying to, figure out if they want that additional year, or is all of that kind of been figured out?
I think we're still going through that with some of those guys. For example, some of those super seniors this past year did not do a very good job academically in school. So we're talking about that because that's hurting our image, our APR ranking, and all that stuff. So there's a little bit of two-way street. Now, a lot of these guys in the super senior think it's just a free check to sit in the dorm room, play Fortnite, and Call of Duty, and show up for football practice. We've got to go to class. Some of those guys are going to be in. Some of those guys can be in grad programs. Some of those guys have taken a second degree. And unfortunate, when you're taking a second degree, if you really don't want, you've already graduated. Really, how hard are you working at classes? So we're trying to, as we kind of create a culture of the value of being a good student, and a good representative of our university, and also being a heck of a football player playing for championships. It's a student athlete. And so some of these guys, we're trying to decide maybe they want to come back or not. Maybe do we want them or not? And let's just make sure we want to work together. I didn't want anyone to leave. I haven't promised or brought, we've added one transfer player to date. We weren't bringing in a lot of players. We wanted just to solidify the roster, see who wanted to start January, working together and start building a community of a team of guys that want to fight. And you saw what one of our AAC teams did yesterday. And that's recruiting, but that's player development. That's chemistry. That's harmony. That's people working together. It'll be interesting to see as we start where that is. So You've seen a couple guys publicly have decided to transfer out, went to the portal. Unfortunately, what guys don't know, when you go into the portal, they have the right to look around. You have the right not to renew their scholarship. So it's kind of a two-way street. So you always want to do what's best for the student athlete. I'm going to support that. But then also Bill knows this, I got to do what's best for the program and for the university. So we'll balance that moving forward. But I think the bulk of our team is solid and strong. I expect a strong showing of the guys who's supposed to be there Sunday night.
So in a roundabout way, what Tulane did yesterday as a member of the American Conference to beat a team like Southern Cal with the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, doesn't that reinforce your belief and your message that Tulsa can be consistently really good and occasionally a Cotton Bowl type team? You know what I mean? Or in the 12 team playoff, Kevin, the sky's the limit. But isn't that in a roundabout way a victory for Kevin Wilson coming into Tulsa? What Tulane just pulled?
Well, just the conference and everyone's a little bit of the dynamics of where we're at. I think Memphis was in that Cotton Bowl a couple years ago. I go back to my time, I was a part of that Boise State Fiesta Bowl deal. So you've always had those teams, and sometimes that's a perfect storm now. It's the perfect team with, the quarterback play and staying healthy and the mojo and the energy of the team. And sometimes it definitely can snowball. I think in this day and age of portal stuff that you're seeing, some of these teams are I was a part of a team that you're going to recruit so well, get so many talented players. It's hard not to be a great team. But this day and age of guys changing all the time, I don't know how much player development is. I think one of the best things by our level, you look at the NCAA tournament and you see some of these mid-level teams that are playing now as high a basketball. I think Houston in our conference right now is playing as high a basketball as anyone in the country. Why? They don't have the 1 year NBA guys. You got 3 and 4 and 5 year players that develop. And for us to be a winning, consistent team and have a chance to be a great team, we need developmental players. We're a developmental program. And I think some of this portal shopping around is maybe hindering. Teams are getting talent, but are they developing? And I think it's going to be the key to our success, Bill, is how we can engage our players to buy into that, how we can recruit players that want to do that, and then as a coaching staff, how we put it together to get that done, that we develop these young men on and off the field and collectively put them together to represent the Golden Hurricane.
You were part of a staff that coached 2 Heisman quarterbacks at OU with White and Bradford. You coached at Ohio State, JT Barrett, Wayne Haskins, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud. CJ was unbelievable the other night, by the way. So now with Braxton, you inherit a really interesting, inexperienced guy, but who has everything you would want with regard to size and seemingly with potential. So when you see Braxton, the little bit of video you've been able to study, do you see him at a young stage looking like any of these great quarterbacks you've coached elsewhere?
I see one, having met him, what seems like a super kid, got nice charisma. I was told right away from Rick Dixon that it would be as good as anyone capturing the locker room at a young age, that he had just a tremendous personality and skill set for leadership. And I think that says a lot. Just watch the little minimal tape. Didn't want to, even my previous job when I was in Indiana, I didn't really go back and try to judge kids on what they had done before. But what I see is what I think is looks to be a very big, strong, looks like he has a great throwing set. I haven't worked with him yet to see how accurate. Haven't been in those positions to see what his decision making and his ability to process information and see and distribute the ball. But from a physical size, attribute, looking at him play, and then most importantly, meeting him as a kid, I've been more impressed with him as a young man than I am him, the athlete. I think you guys see the quarterback. I think is a very gifted young man, and some of those things we don't put the stopwatches on or measurables that can really make a kid a special, great player. So like what we see, but again, just, really starting to peel the onion back and getting a feel for what the true talent and potential and upside is. But he appears to be talented. Again, we've got some other guy, got a nice, a couple of young players that as always, you're going to need more than one, and with depth and with injury and things that can happen. So we're excited to work with Brax, but all those quarterbacks and all the kids.
So who in your lifetime of football, who do you think the best quarterback ever? the Kevin Wilson's best quarterback ever, whether we're talking college or NFL football.
Oh, I mean,
Who's your gold standard guy at the position?
oh, they're all. I mean, they're different. I mean, Jason White had a bunch of moxie at Oklahoma, and but you take a guy like Paul Thompson, nobody talks about, who's playing wide receiver, and you move him back to quarterback in preseason, it takes you to a championship. Don't undervalue guys like that maximize their talent potential versus these, Sam Bradford's accuracy, decision making, mind, intelligent, off the chart. JT Barrett was I competed against him and had ultimate respect for him as just a man, because I thought he played like a young man. And first time I met him, I felt like I was talking to an NFL guy. I'm sure he was. Dwayne Haskins tragically passed, unbelievable talent. Thole and CJ the same. Justin Fields might be the best total athlete and the best package of all of them. I mean, Justin's, and you see what he's doing in the NFL. We didn't run him a lot here because you don't want to get him hurt, just because you knew how talented he was. But I mean, he's lighting up the NFL. But those are all. I mean, I don't know if they're just all different. I think the thing we found is the ability to take Jason White that came off of 2 knees, or Sam Bradford that's very accurate, or JT Barrett that's a running guy, but he still threw for 270 yards a game. But he was a quarterback running guy. Dwayne Haskins, more of a pocket guy, could move in the pocket, really not run the ball. All those guys were uniquely gifted and great, but they were all different. And I think our ability to be flexible and play to the quarterback's strengths is going to give Braxton and all these quarterbacks a chance to have great years.
Oh, you were an offense. So many good coaches. I mean, so many offensive linemen they're almost like catchers in baseball. They seem to just have a head for football and coaching football. But if you hadn't gotten into coaching, what would have been your plan B in life? What would you have done?
I don't know. I never was much in business. I probably been working at the golf course, parking carts, and working on some scramble event and putting signs on the carts. I would have done something outside. I love basketball. Wanted to be a basketball coach. So if I wasn't in the football world, I was a high school teacher. I could have been okay. Being a Carolina guy, I always liked those basketball guys. So I still would have done something. I always said if I wasn't doing this, we'd be at the rec center at the Y. We'd be having a little 3-on-3 basketball tournament this weekend.
So as a kid in North Carolina, I mean, Dean Smith was at the height of his powers. I mean, were you a Duke guy or were you a Carolina?
No, heck no.
You were a Tar Heel?
A Duke guy. Come on now.
Oh, I don't know.
Come on now. I was a Carolina guy. I can remember Charlie Scott and Rusty Clark playing UCLA at about the 69, about an 8-year-old kid, and watching those guys. And Walter Davis was one of my heroes back in the day. And so I grew up watching those. And of course, back then there's only one game on a week, and you didn't get a lot. And those guys were kind of, and at that time in North Carolina, there wasn't much like Oklahoma. There was no pro team. So you were a Tar Heel, a Wolfpack, Blue Devil, or a Demon Deacon. Maybe you ventured over to Tennessee or Clemson, but you pulled for those teams. You knew when you went to church on Sunday and you're sitting in your Southern Baptist church based on the color tie that was worn, who won the game. Because when those Deacons got lucky enough to win the game, you saw the Deacon guys wearing their golden tie that next week. And when Carolina won, you saw them baby blue ones out. When the Wolfpacker won, here come the red ties out. So I just grew up where the college, that's why the college has impacted me. But I grew up a Tar Heel fan and a lot of respect for Coach Smith. And I think, being one of the guys early that did the no huddle, going fast offense, I think my love for basketball helped me coach that no huddle stuff, because it's a little bit like, pushing the ball in basketball a little bit.
Now, but I mean, the Wolfpack won it all when you were 13. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the NC State, they won the national championship when you were 13.
Yeah, no, I was in college, and that was my third year in college. I think Carolina won it my sophomore year. Michael hit the shot, then NC State.
When you were a kid too, Kevin.
Oh, that's right, with David Thompson, Monty Towell. David Thompson, Monty Towell, Tommy Burleson. My man Stoddard. Stoddard was a baseball pitcher for the Orioles. He actually coached baseball at Northwestern. Was there? David Thompson could make change. They would put a dollar bill on top of the scoreboard. He would take 4 quarters and jump up and leave the quarters and pull the dollar off and start making change. So David Thompson from Shelby, North Carolina, one of the phenomenal early great athletes in college basketball.
He was the greatest, I would say the greatest athlete in college basketball in the 70s, athletically. And a great,
Ridiculous.
yeah,
Him
yeah.
and remember Daryl Grip, Dr. Duncanstein up at Louisville was pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
David was, and Monty Towell ran the show, a little short point guard. Had
Monty
beat Tommy
Towell-
Burleson about 7'4" inside. It was Coach Norm Sloan. That was a great run for the Wolfpack.
Right. So what about the buying a house, selling a house, the life stuff that goes with a job change like this? Have you had a chance to do any of that, or is that all?
Yeah, we're in the process. We're kind of waiting here about a month. I think where we live in Ohio, I think there's a lot of I've been told this, we could not only spring, but in February is when a lot of executive business people kind of sell their houses. And we're in a neighborhood where I think it's, we're our markets got to be, I think we have a house that'll sell quick. We actually had someone look at it yesterday. And unfortunately, that means my wife now finally has the house cleaner than it ever has been. We're clean when we're selling it. We're not clean when we live here all the time, even though she does a phenomenal job with 4 dogs in the house we got right now, 2 cats, all the kids. So she keeps it clean, but it's amazing how clean we get it for someone else to see it. We'll look to get down there. The kids are in school. I don't know if we do it with recruiting, maybe just wait till sometime in February if we can find something here as recruiting ends. And during the month of February, early March, try to transition into town and get down there. But it's the first time that we're moving, just me and her, because the other kids are in. I have a senior at Oklahoma, a daughter down there. I have a senior playing college golf in Florida, and I've got a kid on the team here. It's a sophomore and 2 kids out. So it's just going to be me and her moving.
You need to identify a GA like real soon who can go up and transport those animals. And then,
yeah, it's going to be. Of course, 2 of the dogs are my daughters. We have 2 dogs and two cats. It won't be that bad.
I feel like we could have a whole nother podcast just about pets because I'm a cat person. So we could talk about that for a long time. But
I had one jump on my lap last night as I laid down in bed, curled right up on me. I said, "What are you doing?" Of course, the cat was here for a week because our cats can manage themselves by themselves.
Mhm.
So we had 2 cats in the house by themselves while we were going to the bowl game. Had someone check on them. So as soon as we came back and the dogs weren't here yet, the cats ran the roost for a day. They were getting their fair share of cat attention. That's for sure.
That's funny. Okay, well, I think we're good for today. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming on with us.
Yeah, all the best. Excited to be in town and looking forward to working with everyone, connecting the community. And Rain Kane, go to you.
thank you, Kevin. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.